how life was growing up as a child. Growing up, I didn't really have much. I didn't really have a lot of stuff. Most people do have. Like, sometimes I didn't have food, sometimes I didn't have this, I didn't have that, sometimes I didn't have clothes. I was taken away from my mom at the age of 1 month and put into foster care. From there, I went from abusive foster home to foster home until the point where I was adopted. My grandmother, she was kind, I guess. Not the kind of person you'd think kind, really. I mean, she was always trying her best to feed us and stuff, but she always had this dark secret about her. That she would make up things and lie on other people because she wanted us to believe that the people that loved us always did us wrong. And that wasn't true. See, growing up, I was always told, I think this was when I was like 7 or 5, that my mother had hit me with a broomstick, and I had bled. My skull had been cracked when I was 1 month, but it wasn't that way. It was like the silly thing. It was my brother. He was playing with me, I guess, and we were in the crib, and he hit me with his toy, and my skull cracked. I was just a little child. I didn't know anything. But I believed that my mother had always done that. Growing up, I witnessed a lot of stuff. Sometimes I had to eat out of the trash. Sometimes I was beat and bruised. Sometimes I was touched and yelled at. Sometimes I was neglected and abandoned. I went through life trying my best to keep a smile on my face. Trying my best to do everything I could to make everyone happy. To satisfy everyone. To make sure that I at least have a purpose. To make sure that someone can be happy, if not for me. As I grew more and more distant from myself, splitting occasionally into multiple people. People I would call my others. My others were my trauma responses. My go-to every time I was sad. Every time something didn't go the way I needed it to. I would run. And run. Until I couldn't no more. It got so bad that the heart that once was lost all hope. It lost everything. Despite being able to run away. Despite being able to go back into myself. I wasn't able to feel the feelings I needed to feel love, to feel trust, to feel emotion. I let everyone down, honestly. And when I would try my hardest, I'd always ask, am I doing the right thing? Am I actually gonna make something? Am I in the right? I never understood. My head was such a mess with anxiety, depression, that I could not cope. I could not cope with anything. I turned by the age of 8. I was raped and beat it was normal. For me, at least. My house was one of many. It was a big house. Of course, at least I used to live in a big house. But the people who lived there wasn't so kind. And I was just trying everything I could. Just everything I could to survive daily. Even if it meant putting on a smile and locking away my feelings. Because in the end, nothing really mattered there. Nothing. And I found out the hard way that even when you try your hardest, some things don't come out like they should. Some things won't be the picture that you want. Some things will just change, shift, morph into things that you don't like, into things that are negative, into things that can't fully be processed. While you're left there, stranded at sea and all, you're wondering, why? Why was it me? Why did this all happen to me? Why? Everything just happened so fast. I couldn't process anything. And when I don't remember if it was 12 or 11, that's when my uncle stopped doing all that stuff to me, and he let me out of his room because he found a girlfriend. And later, my grandmother, she had 2 strokes. 2 strokes. I think it was on my birthday, if I'm right. I don't remember. Everything is foggy from that point of view, but I remember growing up not wanting to be the man I was, not wanting to be anything, just wanted to be a different gender. And what I'm trying to do is fulfill a happy life being a different gender. It may sound weird, but my dream is to leave all of that darkness, all of that ickiness behind from the cage that I was trapped in to the person I am now. When I was 13, I was placed into a foster home again. Well, when I was placed into a foster home again, I'm 12. But when I was 13, I was placed into a foster home. Not the kind of foster home you'd want to be in. That foster home was very abusive. I mean, very downright abusive. They might have not treated me the way they treated my sibling, but I felt as bad as I did if it would have been me, 'cause I wasn't there. I was a bad person. All of the things I did, all of the things I was never a good person back then. I was an anger, rage-filled boy with nothing but rage and a heart that yelled violence. I picked that up from my uncle. Nearly everything I picked up from my uncle. Everything that would hurt me. Everything that was dark. I picked up And from there, I acquired it. I wasn't a good person back then. But I remember near my 13th birthday, I was transported to the hospital. I had been transported to the hospital multiple times for suicidal attempts and stuff. But this one, it nearly got me fully there. I was transported to the hospital, and they had to do something to my stomach because I had overdosed. I think they had to pump my stomach completely. Not my first time overdosing. In fact, I had overdosed so many times before. But while in that hospital, they were finding a facility for me. That facility, I did not like. I tried my best to cope every day, knowing that I could have done better, knowing that I could have done something, knowing that I wasn't meant to be the person I was, knowing that at a point I was not real, really. If the person on the other side of the mirror was me, then who was the one in the reflection? Who was the other person staring at me? Who is that person on the other side? How many of them are there? And that was my question. My question always. How many were there? How many times do I have to run away? How many times do I have to fight this alone? How many times do I have to feel worthless and argue that I need help? That I want something different? That I don't want to continue living this lifestyle? Then I turned 14. I got out of the hospital and I was transported back into another facility. This one, a way worse facility, where it was nearly locked down every day. I came in with COVID-19 and I had to stay in my room wondering what I would do. I was scared for my life. Scared about everything. I was scared. I remember I would have panic attacks, I'd cut myself, I'd do all self-harming and all of that stuff there. I'd dissociate, I'd become different people. And no one would notice. But I didn't want anyone to notice. I didn't want anyone to notice. I gave up. I gave up on trying. I gave up on everything. I didn't want anyone to help me. I wanted to be alone. I wanted to die alone. I couldn't take the pain. So, I just sat there, while in solitude. Not exactly solitude, but solitude in my mind, while I rotted. And eventually, I was shipped back to another hospital. The hospital was maybe 30 minutes away. I was there for 14 days. They changed my meds around, switched me, and they gave me new diagnoses, but then I went back to that same place. And I thought it was going to be great, but I was wrong. It was not great. I ended up leaving, going to another place. This place was called, this one is more known, I guess, Eagle Rock. I was at Eagle Rock for a while. They were treating me right. I mean, some people didn't understand the stuff I was going through, like all the trauma, because I process it on paper and write it down. And they'd always tell me that wasn't healthy, but I needed to write. I needed to get it out. So I wrote. I turned 16 and 17 in Eagle Rock. Then I left. I went back to a hospital after a mirrored association that caused me nearly my life again. I went to the hospital and I got treated again. They told me nothing was wrong, like always. So I left. I went back to that same place I left from, and it was not good. Eagle Rock wouldn't accept me back because of the risk that I posed, and my brother was just left there alone by himself because of that, and I felt guilty. But then I was shipped to another place in Gadsden. It was called Levels. They didn't understand me at all. I was so sick when I first got there. So sick that I could not keep anything down. So sick that I was vomiting everything for 3 months straight. I had to go and get surgery because I couldn't eat anything. I couldn't keep anything down. I couldn't drink water. I couldn't take pills. I couldn't suffice myself. And eventually, I left there too and went back to the place I didn't want to. That place sold me short again. Dark. Traumatic. Every time. Every time I went. And they hurt me, kinda. In a way. Not really hurt me. But you know what I mean. I was 18. I'm 18 right now. 18. And I went there. And they did not understand. They kept blaming me. They kept doing this and that at every little thing. I tried to help. I tried to do this and that, but it was never good enough. Eventually, 4 weeks ago, I had 15 seizures back to back. I was transported to ICU, outpatient in Florida. After that, I remember going to foster care again. I've been in foster care my whole life. I went to foster care, and then finally, I got to go home. That's where I'm at now, and I'm grateful. But things aren't healed, and I don't think they will ever be. My mind is not set. My heart is not steady. I am trying my best. Things aren't working. I'm just going to try harder until I succeed. And that's basically my life story. Not the happiest, but not the worst. Thank you.